Well, good morning. Okay, something different. It's just you and me today. Forget everybody else in the room. Me and you, one-on-one, just talking. And here's what I want to know. What's your life going to look like 3 years from now? I mean, I'm asking. You think about it. What would the answer be? If I ask you what your life would look like, I'm talking about your workplace. What would work look like to you 3 years from now? I mean, you know what it is now, but I'm talking, it's not going to be the same. Please tell me, please. It's not going to look exactly the same as it is today. How about your marriage? What is it going to look like? Think about it 3 years from now. How about your money, your debt load? What's that going to look like or feel like in 3 years? How about your relationship? You're not married. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you want to meet? Who do you think you're going to meet? What will he look like? What will she look like? I mean, what will their personality be? What's your life going to look like in just 3 years? Can you imagine going back, not living in 2014, but say you lived in 1714. Let's just go back 300 years. Now, 300 years when it comes to, life on this planet really isn't that long, but can you imagine living just 300 years ago and all of the things that you enjoy now being taken out of your life? For instance, cell phone, gone. My mother's 85, has a cell phone. Computer, gone. No computer, no laptop. All of these things, comfortable clothes, gone. Comfortable shoes, men, women not so much, gone. Think about that. No automobile, no transportation, no airplanes, no nothing. No long travel, none of that. All of those things would be taken out of your life. Normal would be different, wouldn't it? Your house wouldn't look anything like it looks today. No dishwasher. You would be the dishwasher. No television, no radio. Your life will look so different. So many things that have happened with just the last 300 years would no longer exist for you if you just go back that 300-year period of time. No radio in the house, no way to listen to music. You would be the only music, that would be it. Can you imagine that? Now in this room, we have those that span a lifetime of listening to, now help me with this, how many of you remember LP vinyl records? How many of you had a collection of LP vinyl records? Don't you wish you had them today? That would be... You remember them going from LPs to 45s? You remember that? Woohoo, compact music, a 45 disc, baby. You were something if you had that. Then to 8-track tapes. Anybody remember an 8-track tape? Anybody have a car with an 8-track tape in it? Oh. Then the cassettes. Oh man, we were moving up in time when we got the cassette. Today, totally different. iPhones, MP3s. And now streaming services. I asked my 16-year-old granddaughter, I said, hey, man, you got a library of iTunes? She goes, oh, Pop, come on. No. We have free streaming services, Pandora, and she named some other ones where we can listen to all the music we want to free. Only somebody lame would buy music. I'm like, how far have we come? There are people in this room that can remember our only choice was LPs and then the M3Ps and now to streaming services where you don't even have to pay for it. I mean, we have come a long way in just our lifespan. But 300 years ago would have been totally different, right? So in the last 300 years, would it be correct for me to say that somebody had some pretty good creative thoughts that came to the table, that came to fruition, that came into our lives? Yes or no? Okay? Can I tell you this? God didn't create any of them. How you like that? God didn't create one of them. Hey, by the way, He didn't create an airplane. He didn't create a house. He didn't speak into existence your automobile. He didn't create your computer, didn't create your laptop, didn't create your iPhone. Didn't create any of it. You know what He did create? He created raw materials. That's right. Iron, metal, water, rivers, waterfalls, rock. Oh yeah, and He created one more thing. He created another creator. You. That's right, you. So here's the question. What do you plan on creating over the next 3 years? God thought it, He spoke it, and there it was. Fellowship Church started with a thought, and here it is. The buildings and structure started with a thought. On a napkin in a restaurant, here it is. 4640 started with a thought. The prom last week started with a thought. Children's ministry started with a thought. Mission trip to Guatemala started with a thought. Everything about this place started with a thought. So what are you thinking about? Because God is not going to create your future. God created you. He gave you the resources, and now it's up to you with a creative thought to bring it into existence. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking about your future? Well, this is the best it's ever going to be, Pastor. I've kind of given into that. I just don't think at my age anything's going to really change. I need to settle into this situation. The situation doesn't look like it's going to get better. It's not by my choice that I'm in this situation. Somebody else created it for me, decisions they make, but it looks like this is what I'm stuck with. Or worse, you've given up thinking all about any of it at all. It's just too hard to sit down and to think about what this could be or what it's going to take for this to be better or how could this be better if it could be at all. No creative thoughts. That would be worse. Just doing the rest of your life numb and dumb when just one thought could change everything. Not an answer, not an angel. One thought that comes into your creative mind could change your entire life. Now, the Bible puts it this way, Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7, "For as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. As a man thinketh, so he is." Well, this is a situation, right? You've got a silver spoon in your mouth. If this happens for you, if that person... No. As you think, you are. So if you are negative, if you think negative, you will be negative. If you think cynical, you will be a pessimistic, mocking, skeptical, cynical individual. Because what you think about will determine who you really are and how the rest of your life is going to end up. Now, let's see if we can see this in some of the Bible stories. 2 Kings, if you would, chapter 7 and verse 3. Here we have a group of lepers who by no decision of their own are in a terrible, terrible situation. An Armenian army had come and laid siege, which means they had cut off supplies going into their city. They could not go out for supplies, so the people would be killed. Anyone trying to bring supplies into their city, they would be killed. Of course, you can imagine what would happen to this fortified town. They turned into a tremendous famine. Everything cost way more than it should cost. And then finally, resources started running out where people were dying. I mean, they were eating animals and doing all these kind of things. And finally, these lepers that were held at the gate of the city said this to themselves. They said, you know what? If we stay here, we die. If we go out there, they may kill us. We're going to starve to death here. They could possibly kill us out there. And the thing that changed their life was one simple thought. Now, let's take a look at what it is. Now, there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. Why should we sit here waiting to die? They ask each other. We will starve if we stay here. But with famine in the city, we will starve if we go back there. So we might as well go out and surrender to the Armenian army. If they let us live, so much better. But if they kill us, we would have died anyway. So here's their thinking. Let's just go for it. I mean, we're not going to continue to live like we're living. What we're doing right now isn't working, and here's what it won't last. So we've got to make some kind of decision. We've got to do something different. So they had this thought, what if there's a God factor here? What if there's something we're missing, something we're not seeing? Let's risk the farm. Let's bet it all. Let's risk our lives. Let's just go for it. That was their thought. And then the Bible says, so at twilight they set out for the camp of the Armenians, and when they came to the edge of the camp, no one was there. For the Lord had caused. Everybody say that with me. For the Lord had caused. One more time. For the Lord had caused. Now, when did he cause it? After a thought. After a thought which led to a decision, then the God factor kicks in. For the Lord had caused the Armenian army to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and galloping horses. Now, this is just in their mind, their imagination. And the sound of a great army approaching. Nothing was really happening. And the king of Israel has, this is what they thought. King of Israel has hired Hittites and Egyptians to attack us. They cried to one another. So they panicked. Nothing was going on except what was happening in their head. And they ran into the night. They abandoned their tents, their horses, their donkeys, because this God factor was happening, and everything else, and they fled for their lives. And when the lepers arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into the tent one after another, eating and drinking wine, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing, and they hid it. Now here's another thought. They finally said to one another, this is not right. This is a day of good news, and we aren't sharing it with anyone. If we wait until morning, some calamity will certainly fall upon us. So come on, let's go back. Let's tell the people at the palace. So these people changed their situation, and they changed the situation of others around them because they had this thought. Let's go for it. Let's risk it all. Let's create a new normal for our lives. And if we make it, we make it. If we don't, well, we don't. But let's put the God factor on the table, and let's go for it. In Luke chapter 15, the story of the prodigal son, he makes one bad decision, one rebellious decision after another. It was an urge that led him out of God's will. And by the way, guys, an urge is always a temporary impulse that causes you to make a permanent change. So one urge after another urge led him to a hog pen, those following his urges. And peoples whose lives follow their urges always go downward. Anytime a person is being led by personal urges that are not in control, their life is always going to spiral out of control. So it looks pretty much, if you take a look at his life and where he's at in the hog pen, that it's pretty much going to end up bad. He's going to be the son or daughter whose life is screwed up when they're in the teenagers. Their life is still screwed up when they're 30. Their life's still screwed up when they're 50. It's like, are they ever going to grow up? Are they ever going to pull it together? And you as a parent are thinking to yourself, they've been an idiot their whole life. And now they're 40 and they're leading their wife and their kids into the same kind of craziness. It looks like that's just going to how their life's going to end up. Well, it looks like that for the prodigal son. So let's take what happens. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home even my hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I'm dying of hunger. And here's the thought. He didn't do anything. He just thought it. I will go home to my father. Isn't that something? An individual's life changes with one thought. And let me just, parents, hear me when I tell you this. God help you. It's not your thought that's going to get into their head and make any difference at all. It's their thought. You put your thought into their head, you put money into their pocket, and all they're going to do is waste it all, default right back to where they're at. Leave them alone. Let them get with God. And if it is in a hog pen where they're eating slop, working for an employer that is not good, finally, through prayer and finally through everything that they've received all their life, finally, they might have a thought. Well, I wish it was when they're 30. Well, it might not be till they're 60. But it's got to be their thought, because your thoughts don't change their life. Thank you very much. You may go home now. God bless you. That's good for you right there. It's the power of their thoughts. Your thoughts can't do anything for me. Here's the truth. I hope you like me, but it doesn't really matter to me if you do or don't. It's not going to make any difference for my future. It's what I think about me. Somebody, pastor, somebody thinks this about you. I don't care. They don't care what I think about them. I don't care what they think about me. Never. I just don't. You know why? Because it is not their thoughts getting into my head that's going to create my future. It's what I think about me that is going to create my future. Nobody has the power to change your life by something they think about you. The power of thought is in you. It's not in somebody else's thought concerning you. So it's true when it comes to your kids, when it comes to people making decisions. One thought can change everything. Nothing had changed in the prodigal son's life. His situation was still the same. He was still in the same environment. He was there with the pigs, same slop, same employer. The situation did not change in order for his life to get better. And neither does yours. The only thing that has to change is how you think about the situation that you think is holding you back from living a great life. You got a thinking problem. Right? It's a thinking problem. That's worth extra tithe right there for what I just... The only thing that had to change was his mind. That's it. Not his environment, not his situation, not his employer, not his checkbook. His mind had to change. Well, if I just had more money. No, if you just had one creative thought, you'll have all the money you need for the rest of your life. Money is going to come and go. All you need is one creative thought to change everything. Because that is where your greatest battle takes place. Where? In your thoughts, in your mind. When I was 15 years of age, I'll never forget this. My dad was sick. He was laying in bed, and he was taking some medication to help him breathe. He was on a breathing treatment. And I remember it had nothing to do with his health. He called me into his bedroom, and he asked me, and he knew that I was saved, and he knew that I was going to a Christian school, and he kind of wanted me to minister to him a little bit, and I didn't know it at the time. It's just my dad talking to me. But he said, Dan, he said, let me ask you a question. I go, what's that? He said, does your mind ever go places that are so awful? He said, do you ever have thoughts, terrible things happening to people you love, and just awful stuff that just gets into your head and just comes out of nowhere? Do you battle things in your mind? And at 15, I'm like, sexual stuff's like the only thing I was battling, going through puberty. So I'm like, Dad, and I didn't relate to what he was saying. I thought, well, battling the mind, thoughts of the mind, okay, that's probably puberty stuff. But when he kept talking, I said, no, I don't have like dreams of mom running a car off of a cliff and dying. I don't have dreams of siblings being burned in a house fire or stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, as I got older, I thought, where is this? Now, I'm not crazy, right? Do you guys ever have stuff come into your head and you're like, oh my gosh, stop. You got anybody? Please tell me I'm not crazy. Come on, I got the right church, right? Okay. And you say, well, what's that? That's the enemy. What's he attacking? Your most valuable resource, your mind. Because if he can distract you with anything going on in your mind that will keep your mind off making that marriage better, making the finances better, making that future better, being able to fix that problem, be able to bring this to the workplace, being able to maybe, hey, employer, can I get on a 410? How about a 410? Would you like somebody coming in earlier and staying later? I'll do a 410 for you. Then I'm going to start my business up on the side on the other 2 days and give one to rest. Uh-oh. But you see, you got to have time to think about stuff. So the enemy's going to do what? He's going to warfare against your mind. You say, will it get better with ages and stages of life? No, it won't. You know what it'll do? It'll get worse. How long do I have to do it? Am I going to be smart enough at 70? Nope, it's going to happen for the rest of your life. Because your enemy is going to attack your thought life. It is your greatest resource. Your enemy will come to you and tell you you're nothing. As you get older, you're going to get weaker. You're going to get less sharp. You're not going to be as quick as you need to be able to compete. In this society, you can't do this. So the enemy is going to constantly bombard you, whether it's going to be in your thought or verbally through the words of another individual that's being used by that individual, that enemy to speak into your mind. And you have to make a decision. Here's the decision the psalmist made in Psalms 139. I will praise you, Father, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. So here's how you start your day. Show you till you're sick of it, and then you go before, if you're a man, hopefully not a woman doing this, you're shaving, right? And you're looking in that mirror, and you're going, God, thank you. Look at all this. I'm dressing a masterpiece this morning. I'm walking out of here with all this going on. That's a marvelous piece of craftsmanship, if you ask me, God. Thank you. I praise you. Ain't nothing like this on the planet, one of a kind. You see, my job, there's only one person's thoughts that need to get into me and change my future forever, and that is God's. And I need to do anything that I can do to get his thoughts into my head and to get everyone else's thoughts out of my head. Because it's his thoughts that matter. Romans 12 and verse 1 says this, and so, dear brothers and sisters on the side screen, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all that he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that you will find acceptable. This is truly the way that you could worship him. Don't copy the behavior or the customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn how God's will is for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Let me explain something to you. The only thing that changed about you when you got saved, listen to me, is your eternal destination. That's it. You're still the same husband. You still handle your checkbook the same way. You still look at relationships and money and everything else the same way you looked at it before you were saved. Well, I'm saved. I'm brand new. Woohoo! Yeah, and women will still divorce you because you're just a saved jerk. Well, I've been bringing him to the church, Pastor. He finally accepted Christ as his personal Savior. Then he went home, had a six-pack of beer, and started cussing me out. That's right. He's going to be a saved jerk that's going to heaven, but he's still going to be a jerk till he gets there, until God changes his mind. About what? About women, about money, about life, about being optimistic, about getting rid of the negativism, about putting these friends aside, about moving forward to this. You see, do you know what we work on around here? For those of you that are saved, you come here to get your thoughts fixed because they've been screwed up by social network and reality TV and news media and liberal news media and friends at work and family members and coworkers and best friends and siblings and spouses all week long. So when I come here to church and I'm coming here as a saved, born-again child of God, I need to get some things fixed. And you know what things I need to get? God, you did make me. I am a wonderful masterpiece. That's not what they said about me last week, but I'm tucking into you, and I'm finding out what you got to say about me. I'm fixing my thoughts. Check this out. Philippians 4:6 says this: don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts. And your what? Your minds need to be guarded. Are you kidding me? I mean, can't we just take it all in? Oh, no. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts. Turn them to what's true and honorable, what's right, what's pure, what's lovely, and what's admirable. Have you guys been inundated with things all week long that are pure and lovely and admirable and honorable? And have you? I haven't. Sorry, I don't live in that Mary Poppins land. Part of staying focused is being able to take control of the quality of the thoughts that are going into your head. Let me just read this. Thoughts lie. They lie a lot. It is often your uninvestigated thoughts that drive depression, anxiety, and fear, which leads you to create nothing and do nothing. Your mind is the steering wheel to the destination of the rest of your life. One thought. I don't want to tell you, it's just kind of a personal story, so I don't want to tell you the whole thing, but first this year, Ann and I made some decisions. We were actually made them over the Christmas holidays, and one of the decisions just had to do with us and our future and where we'll be in about 1.5 years to 3 years down the road, on a personal level, not ministry, not church, nothing like that, just Ann and I and, that kind of thing. And so we both had the same thought on it. We'll take off in this direction. This is how we'll do it. This is how we're going to get there. And one question kept being asked back to me. And she'd say, do you have an answer for that yet? And I go, no, I really don't have a good answer for that. We'll just deal with that when we get there. I'm not sure. I don't really. And so, like last week, it came up again, and it was kind of an impasse. It's just we couldn't see our way past that. We can do this, and we'll do that, and we'll sell this, we'll move that, we'll make this decision, we'll make that decision, we can move some things around and do this. This will be a good thing. But that same question kept coming, well, what are we going to do about that, though? What are we going to do about that? And we were both thinking down the same road. We were going down the same road, and I'm racking my brain, kind of getting ahead of it, my thoughts, and well, maybe I can do this or that. Maybe this will come through for us. I don't know. I just don't know. And then finally, Anna, we had coffee with God that morning, and I was in the kitchen, and she walked in there, and she asked me one more time about it. I said, babe, I don't know. And then she said, well, why don't we? And then she spilled out one sentence. And when she did, I went like, oh, my gosh. Yes, that's the answer. Oh, we'll turn and go that way with that. And it was one of those things, and she said it, we both went, duh. I mean, really, seriously, our 8-year-old granddaughter could have figured this one out, but we just couldn't see it. We couldn't think it. We didn't have it in our head. So it was a major source of stress for me. And the second she just brings this thought to the table, and Wham! Doors started opening up, calls started happening. Man, it was like, woo, that was the answer. Everything was kind of along until, shoom! Everything just started taking off from that very moment because of a thought. Nothing changed but a thought. She brought a brilliant thought to the table. Now, what surprised me most is in our marriage over the last 37 years, I'm the one that brings most of the brilliant thoughts to the table. I mean, I feel like I'm carrying this whole thing mentally by myself. She's not in here. Nothing has changed in the last 5 months except for one thought that has skyrocketed everything for the rest of this year. One thought. One thought. What do you need? Guess what? God's not going to create it for you. He created you in His likeness and in His image. Well, I just can't think it. You know why? You got everything bombarding your what? You're thinking about something. What is it? Do you know one of the greatest things that you can do for your family is to think better? You think better, you live better. You think higher, you live higher. Somebody in your family has got to be thinking, well, we're working, we're striving, we're raising family, we're surviving. And that's what you're thinking about? Somebody's got to think. And when you do, that thought goes to buildings, property, ground, ministries, 4640, prom, a nation, a country, a home, a life, a future. One thought. Would you bow with me for a minute? Anybody else in here feel stuck from time to time? Anybody stuck right now? Just raise your hand up. Stuck on something? Would you raise your hand up? The situation doesn't have to change. Your thinking about it just needs to change. One creative thought coming into your cluttered mess of a mind. Well, I don't mean for my mind to be a cluttered mess. I don't mean for mine to be one either. It sure is filled with a lot of stuff. So this is the season for you to move distractions, confusion, and turmoil out of your way, to spend time with God speaking into your mind. Let God change the way you live by changing the way you think, changing the person you are by changing and renewing the way that you think. Money's going to come and go, but one thought will bring in more money. You're one thought away from starting a business, fixing a marriage, setting your family up financially for success for the days to come. And that's why I want to pray over your thoughts. Because if you think wrong, you go wrong. If you think you can't get up, then you can't get up. If you think that you can't be set free from something, you can't be set free from something. If you think you will always be living the life you're living right now, then you'll experience no more than what you're doing right now. One of the greatest things you will ever do in your family is to think better. And one of the reasons you come to church is to fix your thinking. So just keep your head bowed for a moment. If I don't have thinking time, if I don't have time set aside, an appointment, whether it's in my car, on a drive, heading from here to Denver or wherever I'm going, my automobile, my truck, cab of my truck is a great place where I get with God and I ask Him to fill my mind with the right thoughts. I confess things that I'm thinking about or shouldn't be thinking about, and just because they're just a time waster. They're just a time waster. I was listening to, and just keep your head bowed, because I was listening to a documentary on marijuana in Colorado. One on CNN or some channel. It's talking about the boom of marijuana industry in the state of Colorado and how it's going to go, to other states. And, that it's a harmless kind of a drug. It's wine without calories, no hangover in the morning. And how people of all walks of life are accepting it, practicing it, adding it to their budget. And I remember growing up with a drug addict brother. I remember how pot led to other drugs and how he still messed up to this day to a certain degree. And I thought, what is that all about? Well, it's just to click people into neutral, to numb them down and to dumb them down. Why? So they can get the clutter out of their mind. Well, isn't that good? No. Because when you're numb and dumb, you don't think about anything else except for just being numb and dumb. Television will do that to you. Social media will do that to you. And you can decide, well, Pastor, that's just how my life's going to be. It's going to be filled with all these kind of things. Not mine. I'm not tied to any social media. Well, you're not hip. You're 55, you're old guy. Nope. I got all the toys electronically that I need. And I choose not to. I'm not tied. I watch a lot of golf. I do that. And that's probably stupid too, but I'm not tied to a bunch of stuff that's going to feed my mind. Thoughts of negativism, skepticism. And when it comes, I always battle it, get it out of the way, because it's clutter. Because somebody in my family's got to be thinking. Obviously, last week it was Anna. And somebody in yours better be thinking too. Because things aren't going to stay the same in 3 years. I promise you they won't. They're going to slip backwards or they're going to get better. But they won't stay the same. Father, for every one of my dear brothers and sisters in here, I pray you bless them. The battle that's going on in their mind, Father, things that are bringing worry and fear and frustration and turmoil and the what ifs and the oh my gosh and what are we going to do and are we going to make it in survival mode and all these things, they're not of you. You are an amazing, awesome God. Cause an army to run over something they heard in their head and riches being given to children that did nothing for them. You're the God factor. You're God. We got to factor you in, but how can we factor you in when everything else is factored in? Change your thoughts. May we take time to spend time with you. That our thoughts will be yours concerning us, how you made us. We'd walk out of the room every day knowing we are a wonderful, fearfully made masterpiece. Marvelous. Marvelous workmanship. We've got the resources, and you created us to be another creator. Thank you for that. So I speak this over the minds of every person in this room to create what you want for their lives. In Jesus' name. Amen. I'm going to do a couple more weeks on this one. See y'all later. Love you.